Hey, it's Kevin Garcia here. I am, among other things, the host of A Tiny Revolution. I'm an author, I'm a spiritual director, a soul coach, if you want to, get freaky with it. But what I do is I help people who have left conservative Christianity or toxic religion, but instead of feeling free, maybe you feel lost or unmoored or maybe unsure about how to rebuild your spirituality in a way that feels helpful, in a way that's not triggering for you. And what I do as a spiritual director through soul care and coaching is I help you heal from spiritual trauma, explore new ways of talking about faith, and teach you grounding practices that support real life and real love in a world that feels like it's on fire. And these sessions are not just for wealthy folks with a lot of coin to throw around. I offer sliding scales. And even in my online community, The Crowded Table, I offer some free resources and sessions for folks. So if you've been waiting on a sign to start your healing, baby, this is it. Go over to thekevingarcia.com/coaching to book a free discovery call or just book a one-off soul care session with me. I love you. I hope you're doing well, and I can't wait to talk. Bye for now. Hey gang, and welcome back to another episode of A Tiny Revolution, a podcast about ordinary folks living revolutionary lives. It's Kevin Garcia, and you know how I said, I'm back, I'm making a new podcast, and then I proceeded to not update it for a few weeks? That is because I got a fucking job, you guys. I am working as a dog walker / pet sitter / pet concierge, and I don't mind the work. It is wonderful to be with dogs all day. I will say, having arthritis in my hip and needing to get a hip replacement, which is a real thing, is not so great because, oh my God, I am in pain. And I'm looking forward to the day when I will not have to continue to labor as much as I'm laboring right now, which is why the podcast is late, and that is why, I'm currently trying to piece it together while I'm on location pet sitting. Isn't that funny? Anyways, welcome back to the show. I'm glad you're here. I'm just going to go ahead and just dive right in. This week on the pod, I have my friend back again. It's Brian G. Murphy. Brian G. Murphy is, among other things, a relationship coach, a podcaster with the Queer Theology podcast, and he's also now an author with his new book called Love Beyond Monogamy. But let me tell you a little bit about Brian. He's been doing LGBTQ activism and education for over a decade with organizations like Soul Force, GLSEN, and the HRC. He's received nonviolence training from civil rights leaders, including Phil Lawson, and has spoken about sexuality and gender at dozens of colleges and conferences across the country. He's the co-creator of Legalized Trans, an artistic and educational movement to advance gender justice, the co-founder of Queer Theology, a resource hub and online community, and is a certified relationship coach. I gotta tell you, I love Brian. He's been a friend to me since I came out 10 years ago, and I have just loved seeing how he's continued to grow and evolve over time, and I know that you're going to absolutely love the conversation. It's about his book, but it's also about love, which I think is what this book is ultimately about, not just, being slutty. It is partly about that, but it's more than that, obviously. Anyways, I'm really glad you're here. Grab yourself something to drink. I'm currently in the bisexual era of having 3 drinks, 1 water, 1 coffee, and then 1 drink to walk around with. If you know, you know. Anyways, settle in and enjoy this conversation with my friend, and now hopefully yours, Brian G. Murphy.
Great.
Because what we got tact.
Yeah.
We learned from last time. Anyways, hello.
Hi.
And hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of A Tiny Revolution, a podcast about ordinary folks living revolutionary lives. And we're jumping right in. We're jumping right in with my guest today. He is a podcaster. He is a relationship coach. He is now an author of the new book, Love Beyond Monogamy. It's Brian G. Murphy.
Hello, Kevin. Thank you so much for having me back on the pod.
Yeah, I think this is number 2 or 3 times.
Number 2.
Grateful for you to be here. I got to read your book. First of all, before we jump in, how the hell are you doing? How are you feeling right now?
I'm good. When we're recording this, the book just came out a few days ago, and so it was a wild week of going to my local bookshop and signing some copies for the shelves and doing some interviews and having a big release party here in New York City. And so it's been really exciting to see more and more people get the book in their hands and to hear people's reactions to it. And yeah, So I'm tired, but like in a good way.
Yeah, I bet. There's nothing, I would say there's nothing like releasing a book, but there's probably plenty of exciting things in life that are similar. But
Yeah.
for this moment, it's so
Yeah.
fun.
It's really cool. Yeah.
I got to read your book like back at like not the exactly the top of the year, but like around like March or April.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it. I loved it so much. But rather than me talking about how much I love it, I want to talk tell me, if you're giving someone a pitch, what's Love Beyond Monogamy about? Is it trying to make everybody poly? It's trying to make everyone slutty? What's the deal?
Yeah. So it's funny because the way I talk about the book, you changed the way that I talk about the book. I don't know if you know this.
True.
Yeah. So I used to like when I had the idea for the book. I mean, I've been wanting to write a book about polyamory and spirituality for like 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And when I finally like pitched it, that's what I pitched it as. And when I was telling like friends and people that I met, like I'm writing about polyamory and spirituality. And along the way, I titled it Love Beyond Monogamy, and then I pitched it, and then I got a book deal, and then I wrote the book, and then I turned in the book, and I was like, I wrote Love Beyond Monogamy. It's about polyamory and spirituality. And then you read it, and then you called me. I don't even think you were finished it, and you were like, I love this book so much. It's a love letter to love. It's all about love and the possibilities of like queer love and friend love and all the different ways you can love and how holy all that is. And I was like, oh yeah, it's like right there in the title. It's about love beyond monogamy.
Yes.
So the subtitle does say like how polyamory can enrich your spirituality, your faith, relationships, but it's about so much more than just polyamory. It's about all the ways that we can love outside of monogamy. And so ranging from the ways in which like love can be present in like, a casual hookup, but also to the ways that love amongst friends, amongst chosen family, amongst your neighbors, strangers on the street, what could change in all aspects of your life if you put love in the center and you believe that love is like bigger and wider and deeper and like let love guide your actions. And so it looks at a bunch of relational and spiritual concepts like love, commitment, ritual, sacrifice, community, through the lenses of both like non-monogamy and spirituality, and sees like how can one each enrich the other and how they might be greater than the sum of their parts. So it's for monogamous folks, it's for polyamorous folks, it's for people who are like, I'm just open, I'm not polyamorous, I don't want to be polyamorous.
I don't want to do that poly stuff.
Yeah, it's for religious folks, it's for spiritual but not religious folks, it's for the church fucked me up folk, it's about fuck all that, I'm an atheist. I think there's something in there for really everyone.
I would agree. I think something that like hit me when I was first dipping my toes in the poly waters. Polywater?
Yeah.
Isn't that a Pokemon?
No, like Polywog. I don't know.
In the polyamory waters.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think I was when I first came out, because I was very sold out on the idea that marriage is between two people in a committed relationship for life, and Jesus hates divorce. So, and I also was, I grew up in purity culture, and I was taught that sex was meant to be had within that container. And then, but I kept failing all the time. Even after I came out, I was like, I'm gonna stay true. I'm gonna wait for my husband. And I didn't fulfill those promises to monogamy or to my first partner that I had at the time. If I had the tools, if I had the wherewithal to just ask for what I wanted without fear, we would have saved a lot of time and a lot of heartache. But I do like it was reading polyamorous text. It was like I got to the classics like More Than Two and Ethical Slut.
Yeah,
those are my entry points. And those two things really taught me. I was like, oh, there's so much more possibility, not just within like my romantic relationships for deeper, better, lovelier connection, but more honesty more than anything else. For you, what were like some of the initial texts when you were exploring this? Like, also, how long have you been open and non-monogamous?
Yeah, I've been open for like over 15 years now. And so a lot of the books that folks are like polysecure, polywise, like those books didn't exist yet, right? So I read The Ethical Slut, was sort of like the big one back then. And that was really helpful and paradigm shifting for me. And I remember like looking for blog posts or articles or TV shows just to find any representation. I found a handful of articles, like maybe like a handful of posts in message boards. There was an episode of MTV True Life, I'm in a throuple. It was like these like three gay guys in a messy throuple. Oh, God. So it was kind of sparse. And so the Ethical Slut was really eye-opening for me. And also just sort of really like friendships with folks in my life who were non-monogamous in some way were really instrumental to me. And I remember reading The Ethical Slut and feeling like this is so groundbreaking for me in so many ways. And also, like, I kind of feel like they're like not exactly talking to me. And there was a section in there about like where you can go to get like non-monogamy inspiration. There's a little section on like gay and bisexual men, like they're super slutty and like you could be inspired by them. And so it sort of felt like, oh, they're talking about us rather than to us. And I think the updated versions maybe a bit better. And I also like, it's been a long time since I've read the second edition. So
I read like the fifth or sixth edition.
it might have like hit me differently, but it's sort of, I just remember feeling like they're not talking about queer men at all. And all of the authors were straight folks or queer women, which is great, such lovely voices. But I did feel like I had to do a lot of translating. And as a gay man, was like gay men are already like hypersexualized, considered threats to children. When you layer in polyamory, it just felt like extra vulnerable. And I remember, I was open before gay marriage was legal here in the US. And so both the sort of Christian case for gay acceptance and also the sort of like the political case for gay marriage was all built around, don't worry, gays can be loving, committed, long-term, monogamous, like child raising. And so I was like, oh, even after I had like stopped caring about like Christianity and purity culture, I was like, oh, like, am I doing a disservice to the LGBT movement by like not upholding monogamy and marriage as sort of central values? And so I did a lot of like wrestling with that, and obviously I think not only is it okay, but actually there's a lot of wisdom to be learned from non-monogamy.
I was in the same. I mean, like you met me 10 years ago, when I was fresh out the closet when I didn't know. Girl, didn't know shit about shit, and also just like it was it's really interesting how sometimes I think like the way that like 10 years ago when people were really talking about the biblical case for LGBTQ inclusion, how it was, scoff a little bit. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody in the audience is going, yep. But it was still built around a lot of interesting purity culture stuff. And it was like it went from being like, oh, this is just like a suggestion, this is a tool, a vehicle that we're using in order to advance equality. But the problem with like when you use this, same tools as the people who put
Audre Lorde has some.
Come on, she said
some
those
words
master's
to say.
tools and gonna dismantle the house. And like learning that like poly people of faith and non-monogamous people of faith existed. And not only that they existed, but like the way they operate their relationships was still with this, an awe and a reverence. I think that rivaled a lot of monogamous people. The way that non-monogamous people like value their like the communication, the care in which they go into so many situations. For you early on, and just to pull in some personal story, what was it like for you as you began to open up your relationship? Because you and Peter have been together forever at this point.
Yeah, we've been together for over 16 years at this point, and so we opened up like a year and a half into our relationship. And at the time, I remember like really loving him and feeling like we've got great communication. I see life with him. We like are good at managing conflict. Our sex life is great, and so like wanting to open up and explore non-monogamy polyamory really came from this place of sort of an abundance of love and like love vigor and a little bit of like a political philosophical like I don't own him, I like control him, like autonomy while also having independence and sort of like seeing sexual liberation as like an important part of like, political liberation.
Yes.
That like sex control people feel ashamed and then it's easy to control them politically, and so like we don't actually have to be scared of our desires and our bodies. So, but also like being really scared of like I don't want to fuck this up. And so sort of holding this tension and going slowly. And what I found is that like not only did I not fuck it up, but I think my relationship with Peter is deeper and stronger, and also all the other relationships that I had, hookups turned into friends, like friends with benefits turned into friends turned into lovers.
Yeah,
people who have like chosen family, like friends that I've met because they hooked up with someone that I hooked up with, and then we became friends. And that like it's just sort of been this like sprawling network of love.
A sprawling network of love.
Yeah.
That's
yes. Yeah. God, sorry.
I that's kind of like how like I was on vacation, and me and my little brother were like, we had a little bit of a spat. And after like we had resolved it, I was being a little petty, and so I was just leaning into what I knew would make him uncomfortable. And so I talked about, yeah, like when me and Dean were dating, like, I also had another guy that I had been sleeping with since before me and Dean ever knew each other. And then even after me and Dean broke up, we were still sleeping together. Like and then we were also really friends. And we still really are. I call him my out of town boyfriend.
Yeah.
And so whenever we're in town together, we're together. And then when we're not, we're not, because we live in separate states. And so we keep up with each other. But it was something I was not expecting to turn into anything, frankly, because at first it was just, oh, I'm leaving the club. You just got off of work. Your apartment's on the way home. You want to fuck. But then after a while, like, it started turning into like genuine care. Like, I wanted to know what was going on in his life. I wanted to, hang out with him in the daylight. And so we started doing that. And this is also, again, while I had a, boyfriend, who knew about Josh.
Yeah.
And trying to explain this to my little brother, he said, well, if you were happy in that one, why would you go off and look for something else? I'm just like, I wasn't necessarily looking for something else. It just happened to occur. And but like, why would you do that? I said, because I wanted to.
Yeah. It's also such a presumptuous statement. Like, no one, and I talk about this in Love Beyond Monogamy a bit, but like, no, if a couple has a second kid, no one is like, why did you have a second kid? Don't you love the first kid? Isn't the first kid enough? Like, why did you need to, like, what was missing? Or like, if you really loved your first kid, you wouldn't do that. And we can totally understand that you can love your first child with your whole heart, and then you can have a second child, and then you can love them both with your whole heart still. We can totally understand that there's lots of reasons why you might want more kids in your life than just one. And so, but somehow that doesn't apply to other types of connections. No one's like, you only have one friend. Like, why would you have more than one friend?
Yeah.
And so we like,
because if you only have one friend, that might be called codependence. I don't know.
We put an entire framework onto romantic and sexual connections that like very clearly doesn't apply elsewhere, and you can trace that back to Greek culture. And I'm not saying that you have to have multiple partners or have to be monogamous, but I think the idea that you can't or you shouldn't is like worth inspecting and questioning it.
I would agree. I would definitely complicate it. I think the other part, like, this is kind of a little bit of a segue even like to the first chapter. Like, the word polyamory comes from the Greek. Give us the download real quick, and I want to dig into this idea of having many kinds of love.
Yeah, so polyamory comes from Greek and Latin roots. Poly meaning many, amory meaning love. So polyamory. So like classically, polyamory, I would say, like, a fairly universal definition would be the ability to have or interest to have like both sexual and or romantic relationships or connections at the same time. And one of the things that I do in the first chapter is like take that a little bit further and say like, well, so that's polyamory classically understood. But let's like look at the reality that like most of us probably have already had many loves. Which I'm not saying that just because you like had one boyfriend and then another boyfriend that makes you polyamorous, but like we do understand that, right? That like our lives are made up of many people that we love, past romantic partners in the future, and other types of loves, children, friends, roommates, coworkers, colleagues, school friends, all of that, right? And so looking at one of the central themes of the book of Love Beyond Monogamy is like pushing back on this notion that there's like something inherently different between like your one and only. It's like me and this is my one and only, and it's like us against the entire world. And I do think, which is like, there is something really uniquely special about this relationship that I have with my partner here. And like, that's not to like downplay or minimize that, but it's to say like, and also at a time when I had two partners, like there was like something uniquely special about each of those and like that relationship. And for like one of my like dear best friends who is single, there's like something uniquely special about him and my relationship and his relationship with our other friends. That like it doesn't. There are lots of things I talk about in the book. There's this section of the Supreme Court ruling that legalized gay marriage nationwide that people love to quote. It was all over the memes, and I've even seen it in wedding ceremonies. I don't have it.
The union between two people.
Yes, it's like there's like nothing like more special, that like more.
More
There's nothing that
esteemed, I
better.
think the word.
There's nothing that that better embodies like the highest ideals of fidelity, love, family, commitment, devotion than a union between two people. And I was like, that's just like not true.
It's not true, because the only thing, I think it's Esther Perel who said, the only time on a tradition more kept than marriage is infidelity.
Yeah.
That was in Mating in Captivity. No, the State of Affairs, excuse me.
Yeah. And so there's first of all, like lots of people don't even take marriage seriously, but also
Hello.
like queer chosen family can also embody those deemed ideals in high esteem. And so I'm just like, which not for you, however you listening, it might be that like in your case, your romantic partner or your spouse like is that sort of like highest ideal, but it like doesn't have to be that for everyone. And when you sort of like break open the possibilities of like what is possible beyond monogamy, regardless of whether you are monogamous or polyamorous or something else, so like sort of like looking at all the different connections that are available to you, and then choosing the ones that make sense for you in your life and your partner and your community. That's where the power comes from.
Something that has always stuck with me, it was right around when me and my first partner broke up. And then Miles Markham, my best friend, we went to the same little workshop. It was done by Southern Fried Queer Pride. It's a cool queer organization here in Atlanta. It was called Let's Not Talk About Sex, and it was talking about how so often we center romantic love and we center like these kinds of relationships, making them more important than anything else. And they pointed out, just like, how many of you like look at your partner for everything, for we believe we are entitled to their body and to their time and to their money, in some cases, to their attention, we're entitled to their love, entitled to all of these different things. And we like put it over here to the detriment oftentimes of all these other different relationships that are so good. Yeah. And when I heard that, I recognized that was me. I had, been putting this one thing, trying to make this one relationship work when it clearly wasn't, because I thought that this was the most important relationship. I had to make it work. And then the other thing this facilitator said in that workshop was, what would happen if we treated our friends more like our lovers and our lovers like our friends? Mm-hmm. And the idea being those, like, your lovers, you give your time and attention, and, you've made anniversaries, you make plans and you keep them. It's like, what if you did that with your friends more? Where like you made things special, you bought gifts, you were affectionate and loving. And then it's also, on the same time, what do you do with your friends? You tell them the truth, you hang out with them, you don't put so much pressure on them to be, perfect. What if you did that to your partner? What if you told your partner the truth all the time, even when you were annoyed with them? What if you let your partner, off the hook for being a little annoying, or just not expecting perfection from them? And that really just opened my eyes to, was like, oh, I am woefully underprepared, like, at least for that relationship. It was like, that really shifted things for me. For you, like, when you're thinking about the way that you've arranged your relationship, was there ever a time that it felt really, really difficult? Because, like, I love talking about sunshine and rainbows, and a lot of people like to point out, like, well, some things are like hard, but I don't think they're nearly as hard as they make them out to be.
No, like, and so like sometimes we have conflict or disagreements, and I can get into a little bit about that, but like when people are like, man, like it's not easy or it's hard work, but it's like so worth it. It's like, no, it's like, it is work, right? Like in the way that like tending to a garden is work. Like you have to do it. You have to be intentional about it. If you like don't weed regularly, like the weeds sort of get out of control, and then you have to like put in a lot of extra work to weed, and like sometimes you might sweat a little bit, or like it might make you a little bit sore afterwards. Like in general, gardens are lovely, and they're like, they give you joy to look at every day, and they only require like minimal tending, and
then eventually they bear some fruit or some veggies or something useful.
Exactly. And so when we're talking about sort of like the work, it's like the work is having regular check-ins, it's aligning on your values and your priorities and your like plans and your finances. It's like figuring out how to like do conflict. It's figuring out like
sounds like every relationship
that you bring in. It's like working to like I am activated because this reminds me of something from my childhood, and I can choose to show up in a different way. It's not like constantly butting heads. And
if you are constantly butting heads, that is data to respond to, people.
Yeah. And so there's something about, and this is one of the things that I work on a lot with my clients in my relationship coaching practice, is like figuring out where is the line between, oh, I've got some like internal work to do, and I need to like shift the way that I am responding, or shift the way that I'm communicating, or shift the way that I'm reacting to, versus like I'm being asked to make myself small or compromise my integrity. Because like like both extremes of like you compromise whatever you have to stay together with this person, like that's gross and toxic. But so is like I'm perfect the way that I am, and I'm just going to show up and have no self-reflection. And if my partner or my friends don't like it, like that's my boundary, and I don't owe them anything, and they can just deal with it. And it's like, well, like I think that actually there's like something in between where like sometimes I am selfish, sometimes I do get like angry, sometimes I like, much less now because I've done a lot of work and a lot of therapy and a lot of meditation, but like sometimes I like do yell or like slam a door or like stomp my feet, right? And figuring out like that's like actually like not the way that I want to respond. And so like how can I catch myself to be different? And when my partner, I mean, I grew up in a family where like we all like yelled a lot.
Yeah.
Even now when we're together, like we'll be at dinner and we're just like, la, 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 and we just get loud, and even when we're agreeing, we just like we're a loud family.
Yeah, same.
And my partner's like, when you get animated, especially like when we're in conflict, like that is really overwhelming to me.
Ooh.
And so I was like, okay, like you're right, like that's on me, like, and that he's allowed to say that.
Yes.
And he's not like trying to control me.
He's just letting you know when you do X, Y happens.
And so I'm like, there are other ways that I can respond to conflict. And sometimes I'm getting animated because I'm feeling like you don't understand me or you're not listening to me. And so then I'm like, okay, and that's valid also, but I might need to find a different way of expressing that so that's like where you can actually meet.
Yes.
And that's like different than you can do nothing right. You're always like wrong. Like you have to fundamentally change who you are, like for me. And I've been in relationships where I felt like it's hard to figure out, is this something that I'm supposed to be working on, or is this like my partner being unreasonable? And so that's why having queer and poly competent therapists or coaches is so important. Why having like a solid network community of friends you can talk to and process, who are not going to be like, oh well, you just should. The problem is that you're in a gay relationship, or the problem is that you're like not monogamous.
Yeah, right? The problem is like just like
no. Yeah, so that's and similarly, like one of the things in the book, right, is applying relationship wisdom to our spiritual.
I was about to turn that corner with you. Nice work. Keep going.
And so part of it is like what is my responsibility to my higher power or to my spiritual community? What does my higher power or my spiritual community require of me? What do I expect? How do I like, where is sort of, it actually like is important for me to change in some way, because to do so is to help me live into my highest version of myself, versus no, you're like asking me to like make myself small or change part of who I am, or like I don't have to like give up my queerness to be pleasing to God, or like I go to this church and like I'm really poor, like you're asking me to give a lot of money like beyond what is like I'm actually capable of, like that's maybe not a good thing. And so teasing that out as well is so important. And I think that like in progressive circles, faith, religion can get sort of a bad rap as sort of being like it's this force for control in the world, and it's manipulative, and it dangles punishment over your head. And certainly like many versions of Christianity do that. But I think religion and faith and spirituality can also be sort of like an expression of, these are like my beliefs and values and how I want to show up in the world. And sometimes they're like an expression of those values, and sometimes they're like an inspiration or an accountability or a reminder to live into those values. And like humans are social creatures. So like whether you like are part of a religious community or not, we're all shaped and influenced by the people that we're around. And so like I would like to think, right, like I'm going to be generous and I'm going to give to mutual aid and I'm going to give to the folks that pass on the street, like, no matter what. But I probably like am more likely to do that because like the communities that I've been part of value mutual aid, value both like supporting progressive nonprofits, but also say like, again, like if a person on the street is like asking for money, like they might need some money. Like it's like if you can, like it might be a good thing to get the money sometimes. Whereas there are certainly communities that are like make as much as you can, maximize your earnings, invest it all in Bitcoin, like don't give out to like people on the streets, like they're beggars, they'll become reliant. And obviously people in those communities, it's going to be like, not that they can't escape and
Mhm.
do good, right? But like everyone around them is like reinforcing those values. And so I think like there's something about figuring out like, how do I surround myself with people that are going to like hold me accountable to my values?
Yeah. And that's what good spiritual community is supposed to be doing. It's
Yeah.
not to make you into somebody that you're not, but to remind you who you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
When there's one chapter in here, there's reclaiming the sacred and a polyamorous God. Somebody told, I think it might have been you, who said like Jesus is in a pansexual polyamorous relationship with every single human who chooses that path. And it cracked me the fuck up because I'm like, that's true. Because if he's supposed to be the lover of our souls and we're only supposed to have one love, like what's going on here? And like that's kind of like as I've like evolved from being like strictly Christian into, you know, spiritual but not religious, mystical. I don't know what to call myself. I don't know what to call myself half the time, but it's fine. But like I found like that love, you know, the big L love that runs as the undercurrent of everything. I found it in all these different traditions. Like when I was getting initiated into my yogic lineage, is like I learned about all these different faces of God through these different holy scriptures that I'd never read before. When I started studying, you know, the craft, started studying witchcraft, and when I learned about God through the lens of the feminine, and it changed me. And it was like it was almost like for me, it was like it's having a relationship, you know, with all of these different kinds of paths and stories. When other people when you're talking with other people about reclaiming their sacred, where do you begin with them?
I think it depends on where they are currently. Like if there are just like an LGBT person who like grew up evangelical Christian, they still like they're going to church regularly, like that's important to them. That might be like a slightly different starting point than if it's just a person like, I don't know what I am. Like I just sort of have friends. But one of the other things that comes up a lot for me in this work in my coaching practice inside of greattheology.com and with the book is like it's not about saying like where people like need to go to church or synagogue or mosque. It's about looking at the ways in which like the sacred is already present in your life. Abraham Joshua Heschel, again, I'm going to be paraphrasing here, but he says something to the effect of like awe and wonder are central to the religious person's experience of the divine. And there's something about sort of like what you can't. It's impossible to perceive the infinite, right? But you can sort of like get small glimpses of them, like in the finite, in those like small moments, in like passing moments of stillness. I think it's either Ernest Beck or Roland Barthes talks about sort of in the throes of romantic love, time slowing down and stretching out, and you become immortal gods to one another. That like we already touch the transcendent in our daily lives. In Judaism, there's blessings for everything, right? There's like blessings for meeting a government official. There's blessings after you go to the bathroom. There's blessings for washing your hands. There's like blessings for when you see a natural wonder, when you hear thunder. And I think that there's like something about that is like this sort of like paying attention. It's almost like a gratitude practice, right? Like Buddhist meditation has like gratitude meditations. There's something about saying like, oh, like this thing right here, like this is really special, and I can like name that planet as special. And so I think one of the places that I tell folks to start is like looking for the holy already in your life. I use like I'm functionally an atheist, right? Like I don't think there's a man guy, right? Like I don't think there's any supernatural sense or whatever that's like changing the universe or whatever. Yeah, but I talk about the sacred and the transcendent and the holy and the divine a lot because like the stories we tell ourselves matter, right? And we have been told that like there's this like sacred thing and that's like somewhere else outside of there. And so it's like one thing to intellectually know it's okay to be gay, it's okay to be transgender, it's okay to be not monogamous, it's okay to have sex before marriage. Like, I think it like does something different in your body to say my testosterone shot is like a sacred ritual.
Yes. I
experienced God in like an orgasm.
Hello, somebody.
To look at, say, like, oh, this is the sort of quote you're referencing earlier about Jesus isn't a pansexual polyamorous relationship. That comes from this YouTube video I made like many years ago called Jesus is Polyamorous. It's also on Facebook. I got a lot of death threats for it. So look it up, Google it. A pastor told me he was gonna like punch me out if he ever saw me. But
that's very Christian. That's a very Christian thing to do.
But there's like something about like religious traditions are constantly like wrestling with their past, right? You can look at the prophets and the writings in the Tanakh, and like they're sort of like wrestling with and referencing and commenting on the Torah, which came before it, and like Jesus is sort of wrestling with like his sacred scriptures, and the early church is like wrestling, even within scriptures, like wrestling with the Jewish writings, also Jesus' ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're part of like this long lineage of saying like what has come before us and like how is that relevant to our present day. And so for those of us who come from a particular religious tradition, even if we don't want to stay in that tradition, like, I'm not here to convince you. I don't really do it. Go find your peace wherever that is. But I think like there is some power in saying like, oh, like there's something about communion, right? Where it's like bread and wine, and then like something happens and then it transforms into something else as you like ingest it into your body. And so you're ingesting the flesh and fluid of another person into your body.
The flesh and fluid, how dare you?
Like,
but yes.
Like, oh, like when I receive like a cum shot, like in my mouth or like in my butt.
Ayo.
Like there's like something about, there's like a flesh and a fluid receiving there. And the way that I hear lots of queer men talk about like taking loads is like this like awe and reverent and meaningful process. And I interviewed Jonah Wheeler for my book.
Oh my God, what a treat.
He's a delightful. Like he also like talks about, there's people that sort of like this idea that receiving someone's like load changes you in some way. And so like, oh, there's like a real parallel here between this and communion. And like, it's like, maybe it feels a little bit sacrilegious to say that, but it's like, oh yeah, there's something here. And like what gay men or anyone who's like into cum play, like what we're doing is like touching upon some like human thing that Christianity is also touching upon. And like maybe there's like some common root there of, like this is all good. And so I think like telling ourselves new stories rather than just like learning new facts is an important part of the sort of healing process.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the first time I said I love you to someone during sex and I actually meant it. And they said it back, and then we just kept going, and then it's like we got lost somewhere in with each other. Like it was like I was, it was an ecstatic experience. And it was, like they tried to tell me my whole life that was unholy, and I'm just like, y'all weren't there. Y'all, like, if you could have felt what I felt, if you could have, felt the the same electricity where like, I used to like sob at communion when I received it because I felt like this is somebody giving themselves to me. Like, this like, this is for you. Like, that's what I heard. Like, it was always like, this is body and broken for you. And when you're having those delicious sexual encounters, it can be that sacred where it's just like, this person is giving themselves to me, or I'm giving myself to someone, and a mutual self-giving is that's how it always was talked about in marriage. But
I think that queer people give more care and consideration to their partners in a one-night stand than like lots of straight men give to their wives in decades-long marriages. And so like we don't have to be ashamed of like, which is not to say like sometimes hookups are like weird or gross or awkward or shameful,
sure,
or like not
everything
in
is
some
amazing.
way. Like not everything is perfect for it. Like so like obviously all those exceptions apply. And also like it's not just love, commitment, long-term relationships where like the sort of holy is present. It's also like in these like fleeting moments as well. I think that's one of the messages that I wanted to hammer home in Love Beyond Monogamy, because also I see some, certainly in sort of progressive Christian spaces, it's like gays can be monogamous. But also in polyamory, there's this sort of understandable pushback where it's like, oh, like, well, when you hear polyamory, you might be thinking about like orgies and thruples and all of this stuff, but actually it's like it's shared Google calendars and lots of like processing our emotions. And now I've got 3 people to tell me what I'm doing wrong. And it's like, yeah, sure, it's that. Like, and also sometimes it is orgies and thruples. It's like not just, oh, we've been together for so long and we take care of each other so well and we've got this amazing like polycule. I'm like, that's like this beautiful reflection of love and commitment. It's also like, yeah, I had a one night, or like I had a hookup with a guy that I've only ever hooked up with. We don't talk outside of that, and like we had this like, really meaningful connection, and we were vulnerable, and it's really like a brave thing to have like a casual experience. And that's another thing that I talk about in the book, right? Is like for those people who are having more casual sex, like you're doing something really brave, and so to recognize that as like a brave and courageous thing and like a hospitable thing.
Yeah. Bring
And
it
also
there. Bring it there.
a way,
Talk about
way of
hospitality.
yeah, there's something about that, right? Of like welcoming the stranger into your midst. And so I just feel like if you can start practicing wherever it is that you practice, not being afraid of the other,
Mhm.
like that is like a transferable skill, right? And so
Yes.
we're not gonna like walk our way to utopia, right? Like, and also,
I'm just
I
kidding.
mean,
I'm just
maybe
kidding. I'm just kidding.
right? But I'm like, oh, like if I'm not like if I mean, or I might be scared, but I feel the fear and I do it anyways of like inviting someone over at 2 a.m. Like perhaps I can like talk to the person on the corner who I pass by who's like asking me for a buck, right? Perhaps I don't have to be scared of the immigrant who like wants to move to America.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's like something about like welcoming and inclusion that like that we recognize actually is a value and a virtue. And so just start with the places that it feels comfortable or like maybe like just outside of your comfort zone and like practice that skill and apply it like in other contexts.
I agree. One part, I think this is like kind of like touching back on having many loves and understanding.
Yeah.
You've talked before with me about like your chosen family and like the sacredness of that. I had a moment this past week where like, you know, it's September 22nd. Y'all can go look at the calendar and like see what was going on in America because I'm not going to get demonetized for this.
Yeah.
But like I was having such a shitty week, and then Friday rolls around and like all three of my friends in my group was like, what are you doing? You coming to the park? I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing anything. So like me and the boys went out to the park and, you know, we smoked and we drank and we played kickball and frisbee from like 4:30 until the sun went down. And it was the most perfect day. And then I went and hooked up with somebody. And then I went home and I was like, maybe the answer to like my, you know, depression, at least for this week, was go be with people who love you and then make love. You know, maybe it is, you know, what like to make your friendships, you know, it's like I just don't see these like particular group of men or like these my friends as like my therapist told me one time I'm the least casual person that she's ever met. I don't know if that's because like I'm very bad at it. I'm very, very intentional with, you know, my friends and the people that I want to be with, and it is because it is sacred to me. It is important to me that these people know how much I love them, and it's important for me to show up for them because I know that their well-being is also like wrapped up in mine. I would love to hear for you, like as queer people, we get to choose our families, but on the real, like how has polyamory and non-monogamy enriched those kind of kinships that you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think both queerness and polyamory invite us to sort of question assumptions about love and family and commitment. And, you know, we talk about queer chosen family a lot in queerness. And there's something about polyamory, right, where it sort of like almost like forces it upon you because like in the form of like a polycule, right? So it's like if I'm dating someone or two people and like one of the partners is like dating someone else, like my metamor, there's like another person in my life now, like I get to choose like how intertwined our lives are. Are we more parallel polyamory? Are we more like integrated? But like there are other people that are sort of like in my family, at least my extended family, by like virtue of that. And so like thinking about like, well, what does it mean to show up for like my partner's partner? Or like what does it mean when like the hookup of my partner like wants to or whatever it may be, right? And so I think there's like something like really beautiful about kitchen table polyamory and like these sort of sprawling networks of like my three partners and one partner has two other partners and one partner has three other partners and her like submissive and her queer platonic person, and we get together and there's 12 of us and it's amazing. And I think like there's mutual care, mutual aid, and also so like that's like a beautiful model. I think like how we can take care of one another. And also like if we only limit it to the people that we like want to sleep with, we like run the risk of reproducing desirability politics, like phobia, sexism, ageism, all the things. And even if you were able to sort of like, even if you were sort of like the perfect person who like had none of those isms in you, you're still sort of like limiting by like romantic love versus non-romantic love. And so I think it's important to intentionally in our communities to care. Certainly like my like hookups that have turned into friends, like those are really important and really valuable to me. And like they can be part of my chosen family. But also like people that I've never had sex with and I'm never gonna have sex with, like it's also important that I make space in my chosen family for them as well, because there's like sort of a richness there.
Mm-hmm.
Like making friends as an adult like can be tricky.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we were in school, like you just bumped into people that you could be friends with all the time, and maybe your parents like play dates for you. Like it does take work to make friends as an adult. It is always going to be easier to like sit at home and like complain on Twitter about like the state of the world. And so like there is some element of like I gotta go make friends. I gotta go keep these friends. Like you were saying, I'm the least casual person. You kind of have to be in order to like maintain friendships.
Yeah.
As an adult. And I think there's also something there about like you can be like seriously casual or like intentionally casual, right? Like so it's not just like I have my friends and my friends have to go from like strangers to 100%. And that's how I go. Like, I meet you and we're like best friends right away, and I'm going to share all of my like shit, and you're going to share all of your shit, and it's like, well, we just met, right? So like, there's in the way that you like date, there's also sort of like a becoming friends process where like you move from the more shallow towards the deeper as you begin to sort of like suss each other out and begin to trust each other and make sure that you like share values and align on that. And also like you only have like so much room for so many like really deep connections. And so there's like all this research. I think it's like you can have like 5 super close friends, right? And then there's room for like 25, like a medium. These numbers I forget exactly, but it does take some intentionality to be like, oh, like you're not going to be like the core of my chosen family, but like it is important to keep in touch with you. And so like that means like thinking like I haven't talked to John in a while, I'm going to reach out to him, or setting reminders to send your friends birthday cards or anniversary cards, even if they're not your like besties. Like both like yes, taking care of your ride or die, but also realizing that your like chosen family may be more strong.
Yeah.
Can you pause 1 second?
Yes.
Bye.
Bye, baby. Bye.
Speaking of friends, one of my friends from LA has been staying with us for a week and is leaving.
Bye. Sorry that I had to work with
Kevin
him.
says bye.
I miss you so much. Shit, bring it back, Kevin. You can do it. I have my notes.
I just said like I forget what I just said. It was like
you're talking about communities of care, realizing
yeah.
Realizing they can be much bigger and grander. Yeah. I would love to, because I know that we're coming up on time, and I think 45 minutes is also a great conversation length. It's like enough for people, because once you hit 50 minutes, people stop paying attention. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
For someone who's out there who has always been like classically, chronically monogamous, who may think like, oh, this might be fun, or this might be interesting, or something I want to explore. What's your the little piece of advice for someone who's about to spread their little polyamorous wings?
I mean, read Love Ya Monogamy.
Period. Hello.
I'm gonna
ask people. It is such a good book.
Yeah, I'm gonna like talk about it on the podcast also, but also I think one of the things that I set out to do with Love Ya Monogamy is that it's not really a how-to, right? If you need a how-to, like read The Ethical Slut. But when we were talking,
your gain real quick. You got a little quieter first.
Is this better?
That is better. Keep talking.
So if you need a how-to, like read The Ethical Slut or Polysecure, Polywise. Those are like really tool practice focused. But as I was saying earlier, right, it's not enough to just like intellectually know it's okay to be gay, to have sex, to be polyamorous. It's sort of about like the stories we tell ourselves about it. And so
on the soul level.
Yeah, I really intentionally mixed in like my own personal stories, the stories of like my friends and of my clients, along with these sort of like musings on values, community, spirituality, that which is bigger than ourselves. So that like you can have all the tools in the world, if you like don't really believe in your heart that like what you're doing is okay, you're gonna continue to get tripped up. And I've already heard, the book's only been out like a week, but I've already heard from a number of people that have like, I've been trying to make non-monogamy work, whether it's polyamory or just an open relationship, and I found myself like I kept getting tripped up on it. And this book gave me sort of some language to say why I wanted it and why it was important to me, and like to sort of like a good place it came from, because I was feeling all sorts of like shame around wanting to have more sex or wanting to have multiple relationships. And so I think this will help you, not necessarily with like communication tools, there are some of those, or relationship guideline setting tools, though there are some of those. It will sort of like help you find your own internal moral ethical compass around how you structure your relationship, so that no matter where you land, you're sort of grounded in yourself and your truth and your values. And so with that said, so the book is like the long version.
Yeah.
There's the one sentence, the standing on one foot version, as we would say in Judaism, is like to come from a place of intentionality and choice. And I oftentimes, clients that I work with, it's because they sort of like winged it and they're like, let's just like try it out and see how it goes. And so figuring out, why are you doing this? What exactly does it look like? Especially if you're in an existing closed relationship, making sure that when you talk about opening up or polyamory or non-monogamy, whatever that might be, that you're clear on what those words mean to you, because I work with lots of people and they have lots of different definitions around monogamy, not cheating, tell you in advance. Those are all, everyone, these words like seem sort of like simple and they mean different things to different people. And so like really getting clear about what you're doing and your process and making sure that you're on the same page, and that you could always go faster to like go slow and methodical and intentional in the beginning, because like you got your whole life ahead of you.
Yeah. Something you said in there that just one string I want to pull on is kind of if you don't believe what's in your heart, like what you're doing is okay. And it's like, and not only that, but just like thinking what you're doing is a good thing.
Yeah.
It's like, at least for me, it's like both when I figured out that I was genderqueer, when I figured out that I was non-monogamous, it really came from this place. I'm like, for me to be faithful to how I believe I was created, like this is how I think God operates, if you will. Like this is how, you know, I'm kind of like functionally atheist too most of the time. But like, that's what I really believe is like, this is a way of embodying, and I don't want to say a more full way or expression of love, but I think it's a different face of love that is so underutilized that so many people can learn from. Because the way that, you know, at least in the the really healthy poly relationships I've seen, is the level of care is just out of this world. The level of understanding, the level of communication, the level of expansiveness is so much grander and bigger, and there's more love. I don't know how to say it other than that.
Yeah.
And for me to not do that would be a betrayal of who I think God might be. Or at minimum, it's a betrayal of who I am. And I won't do that anymore. I can't do it. Yeah. I want to end because I always ask everyone the same 5 questions every time. So Brian G. Murphy, are you ready to play just one thing 5 times?
Sure.
It's really easy. What's one thing that you like about yourself?
My big heart.
It's true. You really. It's true. We've known each other for 10 fucking years. First of all, I think that's incredible to have a friend for 10 years. So
yeah,
I would have to agree. What's one thing you're really proud of? I think I know the answer.
Lesbian monogamy.
What's one thing that pisses you off? Just one, please.
This might get me canceled, but I think the complacency of progressive Christians.
Listen, when you come back on this podcast, we're gonna get there. What's one thing you're really committed to?
Figuring out like where my growing edges are.
And what's one thing you'd like to do before you die?
You've
done a shit ton already.
I've been on a roll recently of like just trying to check off more things. This is a cop out, but like
I don't care.
I just like I'm sure that I will have more experiences in the future, but like I feel so lucky because I'm like I did it.
Done a lot.
Like I could die tomorrow, and like I don't feel like there's like some.
Is there any place you want to visit you
haven't
yet?
No, I'm like done it.
Wow, just very, very satisfied.
Also, I think I'm also content. I'm not a big world traveler. Like I like to go visit people. So
yeah, if I go places, I want to go places with people to do things with them.
Yeah.
I still have Fire Island and P-Town on my sacred pilgrimage list, so you're gonna have to help me out.
You know what? I do have like this doesn't feel like a grand bucket list type thing, but for probably like 8 years now, I've been saying I want to lead some like queer sex spirit week-long retreats, like maybe in the woods, maybe at P-Town or Fire Island. That's sort of like a little bit I don't know, just sort of embodying our desires and our bodies and connection and learning history, learning sex, like experimenting a bit. So that's like something I would love to do in the next, I don't know, few years.
Put it on the list.
Yeah.
Brian G. Murphy, please tell people where they can find you on the internet, where they can find your book, and I think that's the only two things that I really need to plug right now. Unless you got more things to plug.
That's all. This is BGM on all the places, just my initials. I'm most active on Instagram. The book, you can get it anywhere books are sold. You can ask for it at your library. They probably aren't carrying it yet, but you can request that they carry it if they aren't carrying it. If you go to thisisbgm.com/book, I put links to a lot of the different places you can get it, including at least right now, there's a promo code that is still active if you get it directly from my publisher. So that's one place. And if you're interested in relationship coaching and or spiritual direction around relationships, queer sex, desires, bodies, spirituality, all those things, I would also talk to you. You can book a call at thisisbgm.com.
Love it. And also, please go listen to the Queer Theology podcast, the longest running queer theology podcast on the internet. Like 250 episodes deep.
Girl, 609, I think was today.
Listen, I don't know. I don't remember numbers, but still, that's
a lot.
It's a lot. Listen, start at the beginning. See what happens. I'm just kidding. Thank you so much for being with me. I love you, and congratulations on your book. It's really a gift to the world, and I'm really excited for more people to get its hands on, especially all my straight people listening out there, and especially my non-monogam or my monogamous people. Like, the thing I wish I could push upon people, and you echo it if you want to, straight and monogamous people, not mutually exclusive in that, have so much to learn from poly and non-monogamous people. And I love that this book is so accessible for everyone. So even if you're just trying to understand your non-monogamous friends a little bit better, it's an incredible resource for that. So please go pick up Love Beyond Monogamy. That's my plug. I'm done talking. Okay.
My mom bought it. And she's already lending it out to her Bridge Club friends.
Hello.
So like, if they can read it, you can read it.
Yes. Thank you for being with me, Brian.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Kevin.
And that was my conversation with Brian G. Murphy. You can follow him across the internet at thisisbgm and also on his website, briangerald.com. And please go pick up the book, Love Beyond Monogamy. I swear to God, it will change your perspective, even if you're not monogamous. Or even if you are monogamous, even if you are monogamous, you have something to learn from the way that poly and non-monogamous folks structure their relationships. It's so powerful. You're going to love it. Okay, as per usual, I want to say thank you to my online community, The Crowded Table, who supports my work. Pretty soon coming up, I am going to be starting some live meditation circles that I'm going to record and post later for posterity. I also want to let you know that in The Crowded Table, we have free resources available, free meditations that I post, and also free soul care sessions. So if you want to sit down with me for an hour to talk about your spiritual shit and you just don't have the funds, I have about 8 to 10 hours available every single month for folks who cannot afford it. So don't miss out on this. You can go to patreon.com/thekevingarcia to become a supporting member, and you can also just join for free. You don't have to pay to access those free resources. It's free for everyone. You pay if it feels good. Okay? Again, that's patreon.com/thekevingarcia. And also, like, if you enjoyed this podcast, that's the way to support this work. And if you want to have more of these podcasts coming out, help a girl out. I should be back next week by Thursday with another episode as well, so keep your fingers crossed. And, just be sweet with me as I'm transitioning into new life from not being from a burnout into a working stud and drag queen. It's a weird time in life for all of us. I'm sure you don't care. I'm probably just making it up in my head and feel guilty for no reason. And if you relate to that, then shame off you, okay? I love you so much. So till next time, take it easy, call your person, take your meds, shake your ass a little bit, eat something delicious. Tell your significant other I said hi. Tell your dog I said hi, for that matter. And I'll speak with you next time. This is Kevin Garcia. This has been A Tiny Revolution. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.